Why is gas $5 a gallon? And like, why do I have to pay rent? And why is rent so high? And why do I have to drive my car and get the gas that I have to get to go to the job that I have to pay for rent? Why do I have to do all of that stuff? And why are you making it so fucking expensive to do it? I don't even want to get out and pump my gas. It feels like getting out and just knowing someone's gonna fucking stab you. Why would you get out? This is beginning. This is the beginning of life. What am I supposed to do forever? It's gonna fucking worse.
If you're not gonna pay us enough to live or afford to live, at least pay us enough not to do this.
29-year-old Kamel Abdul Karim has been charged after allegedly setting fire to a warehouse in Ontario, California, while complaining about low wages. Around 20 employees had to be evacuated before the 175 firefighters rushed to the scene to put out the blaze that destroyed an estimated $156 million worth of stock. The 29-year-old shared several first-person videos in which a man believed to be Abdul Karim could be heard saying,
All you had to do was pay us enough to live. All you had to do was pay us enough to live.
Abdul Karim has since been arrested on multiple felony arson charges and remains in police custody while the investigation continues.
Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Kodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of great mercy and rule well. Salutation to the Aki and preaching the truth, to the four corners of the in sincerity. This is Brother Yaka coming to you to another lesson. Lord's will be edifying to His Spirit. As you can see the title, A Cry from the Fish Gates. Right, because we know that these Edomites mainly are the targets in these videos. When you see Deuteronomy 28 and 6, I believe. Right, or Deuteronomy 30. And 6, 132, where it talks about the curses turning on our enemies. Also, prophecies taking place, right? Because Cry from the Fish is just going into the economy turning over, where the economy crashing, according to Isaiah, the 14th chapter, right? The worms being spread under them. I'm going to get into that one time. This book of Isaiah chapter 14, I believe is right, it's 11. And it says, Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, right, which is their pride, America's pride, brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy voice, the worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee. Because that's the point I was heading into. Meaning that the worms spread under them, and the worms cover them, where there are people complaining, right? They're complaining about the gas price. They're complaining about why is the gas so high, groceries, this, that. And that is just the prophecies coming into play before the actual place. The place actually get turned up more hot, more crazy, right? And that's the so I'm gonna get the precept that is in the title. Let me get the book of Zephaniah chapter 1 and verse 10. Right, and it says, And it shall come to pass that in that day, saith the Lord, that there shall be the noise of a cry from the fish gate, and an howling from the second, and a great crashing from the hills. What does that tell you? You understand? A great crashing of the economy, a noise from the fish gate. You understand? And if you ask ChatGPT what was the importance of the fish gate, I think we should do that. Alright, let me go into it. The importance of the fish gate. Let me get a ChatGPT. That's for edification's sake. I'm going to type. What was what was the importance? The fish gate in ancient times. The fish gate, let me see. It says the fish gate often referred to an ancient text in, like the Bible, especially in the book of Nehemiah, was an important feature in ancient cities, particularly in Jerusalem, and its significance was both economic and strategic, right? Economic importance. It says the fish gate was closely tied to trade. So we understand? To trade, and what is the issue with trade now? The issue with trade is they're not getting the oil. If oil reaches to $150 to $200 a barrel, US dollars, it's going to be terrible. It's going to be in a terrible state where everything is going to rise. It's going to be the beginning of the end, the crashing of the economy, right? Right. So it's a trade. It says it served as the main entrance where fish from coastal regions, especially from Tyre and other Mediterranean areas, were brought into island cities. Now, it's the same thing that's going on right now. A lot of countries, they fully depend on imports and exports. And certain stores like Massy, certain stores like any certain grocery stores, right? They have fully imported stuff. And it's being imported and exported. Now with the oil given trouble, everything is going to raise. As the old saying, and oil and gas raise, everything does raise, right? So let me continue. I reach. It says, markets near the gate specialize in selling fish, making it a commercial hub. Because fish was a key part of the diet, fresh or salted, this gate played a role in daily food supply and commerce. And this is something that brothers who in the fishing game would know. You understand? Because myself and other brothers who in that game, we know that fish is a big play pertaining to import and export. They export a lot of fish from the Caribbean, and import a lot of things too. But so I cry from the fish gate, right? This is what's taking place right now. The economy is crashing. Soon we're gonna see hyper inflation, where everything the $1,000 that you used to spend gonna be in the grocery next to nothing. You understand? It's gonna be in the grocery next to nothing, and that's what the scripture also mentioned, and I'll bring that precept after. But that is it. Your money gonna mean nothing, because we all witness $100 turn into nothing. Before, when we was kids, $100 could have buy a lot of things in the grocery. But now, $100 is like nothing. And $1,000 going to turn into like nothing as well. Pertaining to buying stuff and all them sorts of things. You understand? So when for a grocery run, you're gonna have to have like $2,000-$3,000 just to be comfortable. And then there's people who celebrate every holiday known to man. You that so-called nigger, but you wanna be celebrating everything. There's going to be a cry from your house as well too. Right? So I'm gonna continue. Strategic and urban role. It says like other gates in ancient walled cities, it functioned as a control entry point for people and goods. It helped regulate trade and collect taxes or tariffs on imported goods. Its location often connected major roads, making it important for transport and logistics. Religious and historical significance, right? It says in Nehemiah, the fish gate is mentioned during the rebuilding of Jerusalem walls, highlighting its importance in the city's structure and identity. It symbolizes restoration and community cooperation, since different groups helped rebuild specific sections of the wall. Right, so they're going into different stuff, but we all know that it goes into the economy, and there's a precept that mentioned it. Let me get that. Let me get that one time. This is the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and 22. Right, it says, and suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, lacking people. The full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. Right, I have a clip for that. Right, I'm gonna have a clip here and queued up for it.
So I'm in Dollar General, or Dollar Tree rather. The shelves are bare. I think that these tariffs and the stuff that we get from China is not coming because the shelves are bare. I have never seen it this empty. This is crazy. It's almost like pandemic level. There's nothing in here.
Alright, and what gonna be the position of them that not root Yahweh Hashem Yahushai? You understand? They're gonna suffer through famine. The scripture say that. Let me get that one time. Alright, this is the book of Lamentations chapter 4 verse 9. And it says, they that be slain with the sword are better than they that be slain with hunger. For these pine away, stricken through for want of the fruits of the field. So they that be slain with a sword, which is the gun, any killing instrument, right, but are better than they be slain with hunger. Why better than they that be slain with hunger? It says, for these pine away, meaning that your flesh, your body literally just go into a state where it eating itself. You understand? That's where you start to lose weight and get how to survive. So you be eating itself and it must feed enough on the muscle and it start to get small. You know? And there's excruciating pain. That is not no normal pain. That's excruciating pain. You turn into a zombie. You understand? Where you would cling to anything to eat. If they see them eating, human, you're gonna cling to that. And then it says, for want, the stricken through for want of the fruits of the field, which is anything, food. They just want food badly because they can't have it. Famine. You understand? So again, what gonna be the outcome of them that dwell not with Yahweh Hashem Yahushai? They're gonna be facing heavy penalty and death. Pining away. Hit somebody. You might want to hit somebody just to tie them up and bag them up and put them on a grill. Because we know that is the mindset. Farming is going to bring in cannibalism. You understand? And he's already injecting or putting a little bit of human flesh in every little thing. So the people easily preparing them. But now we are at a time where if you're already prepped for that, when times get real, it's gonna be easy for you. You understand? It wouldn't take nothing for that to happen to you. You already probably a cannibal. Some people, the scripture mention the sickness pertaining to meats. Some people can't do without meats. You understand? Some people can't do without eating for longer than an hour, 2 hours. You understand? Because Esau programmed them breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They don't know about being hungry. So when it is, they had to be put to the test now, right? It's gonna be their portion. Because if they wasn't thinking on being in that mindset and thinking about being so evil to actually capture somebody and eat them, that's where your brain gonna be. That's where your mind gonna be. The sown places unsown, nobody going wrong. People will be hiding because they know that people looking to eat their food. They can't cook. Because when they're trying to cook, what's going to happen? Somebody coming to take your thing. They're going to find somehow. First the place going to be in an evil way. If a man have a spoon, he going to try to use that spoon all out just to dig a hole to come inside your place. You understand? Just to get what you have to get. Zombies going to be active, fully active. Eating human flesh to survive as a zombie. You understand? And that's why it's good to dwell with Yahweh or Yahweh Shai. Because we're gonna be the portion of them. That's our next video. Sad shall be their portion. Portion of them that believe not. Let me see. I don't want to stray from the topic. Right, because it's twofold. I believe in the book of Jude. Alright. This is Jude 1 and 5. It says, I will therefore put you in remembrance, though ye once knew this, how that the Lord, having saved the people out of the land of Egypt, afterward destroyed them that believe not. Right? And then after it going into, and the angels that kept not their first estate, which we know we're going into. But we're dealing with they that believe not, the Lord destroyed them. The scripture also mentioned that you must believe that the Lord is a rewarder of them that diligently seek Him. So we're doing these videos and constantly dwelling in the Lord because we want to be diligent, make our call and election sure. Also, you want to constantly believe, because it says this is what's going to happen to them that believe not. One, then it says they will not. Let me see, I forget it here. I believe it's Sirach chapter 2 and 13. And it says, woe unto him that is faint-hearted, for he believed not, therefore shall he not be defended. And that is faint-hearted in them times. You know, faint-hearted in the days where going to come upon everyone. Why it say that? Because you only frightened because they didn't do what the Lord told you to do. You know, the scripture always mention that they that in sin and dwell in the world, they be fighting for the least, because they know them they in sin. They don't feel safe. You understand? And when you're in the truth and you're worshiping Yahweh, you're shy, you have a kind of confidence on you that the Lord gonna keep you safe throughout all these things. You know, although you be skeptical about certain things and certain areas and what certain things, but really and truly you have a confidence on you that you know the Lord have your back. You're feeling good because you're doing what He tell you to do in the first place. Preaching these videos, going out to the highways and byways, living the lifestyle, not just talking it, keeping the Sabbaths, the commandments. So you have a confidence, right? Even when there's a cry at the fish gate, going back to the beginning of the lesson, even when there's a cry at the fish gate, people complaining about their money, the economy crashing, everybody feeling it. Even when it happens like that, we know that we're going to be good. The scripture says the Lord is a rewarder of them, that diligently seek Him, and a rewarder. He's a rewarder, someone that rewards you for passing the test, because there's going to, all this stuff going to come upon us as tests. And we should not fail, because we know that the Lord already proclaimed judgment on this place, and I'll bring that precept after. Right, verse 14, it says, woe unto you that have lost patience, and what will He do when the Lord shall visit you? Because that is it, the Lord visiting the place with judgment. When the Lord visits us and reach, we're going to be your portion. You didn't believe. You understand? Verse 15, it says, they that fear the Lord will not disobey His word, and they that love Him will keep His ways. That is it. So you're confident and you're strong knowing that, I don't have a thing to worry about. Verse 16, they that fear the Lord will seek that which is well-pleasing unto Him, okay, you're trying to please Him, and they that love Him shall be filled with the law. Going back to the law again, right? Verse 17, they that fear the Lord will prepare their hearts and humble their souls in His sight. Verse 18, last verse, saying, we will fall into the hands of the Lord and not into the hands of men, for as His majesty is, so is His mercy. The Lord, exactly, the majesty of the Lord is great, the greatest thing in the universe. Yahweh and Yahweh Shai, right? Yahweh first, then Yahweh Shai. Now when we understand this, we understand that His mercy is also great. which is being merciful unto his elect, which is his chosen, his children. So you don't want to piss off the Lord. You want to abide in the fear of the Lord, because he bringing that judgment. You understand? He bringing in that famine and all that you see coming. Right? And there's a precept backing up that, which is Psalms 119 and 126. And it says, it is time for the Lord to work, for they have made void thy law. Again with the law. Right? It's time for the Lord to work, which is send judgment, plagues, everything, because they have made void his law. You understand? They didn't care about it. They trust in chariots and horsemen, all these stuff that the scriptures say, right? But they didn't trust in Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. They didn't give the truth a chance, right? They didn't want to. So they trust in all sorts of things. They trust in the lying pastor, right? They trust in all these things, but they didn't trust in Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Therefore, what the scriptures say, they will not be defended. And that is what we know. Right? So we try to be in it. We try to understand the cry. We try to understand here what's going on. When the scripture says measure out the time diligently in itself, measure any time with the prophecies. And we watching the prophecies and we saying, you know what? Now is not no time to fuck up. No time to fuck around. The only time we have right now is to listen to Yahweh Hashem Yahushai and do what he say. So Lord, in this lesson, knows that I find through the Spirit and power, Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Alright, Kalala Yamla, Alahayana, Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, Hashem Kodash. Double unto the elders and apostles of great mercy and rule well. Salutation to Yaki and preaching the truth to the four corners of the earth in sincerity. Shalom.